$5. The price of one coffee, one snack, one thing you will forget by tomorrow. Spend it and it is gone. But there is a version of you that does something else with that $5 every single day and quietly turns it into a fortune. Not a bigger paycheck, not a lottery ticket, just $5 a day and one machine almost nobody uses on purpose. Give it enough time, and that coffee money does not just make you comfortable. It becomes the kind of money you hand down, money your grandkids inherit without ever knowing where it came from. This one is for Evo Speedy, who asked me to break down exactly how a few dollars a day turns into generational wealth. So today we follow one $5 coin all the way from a coffee cup to a family fortune, drawn simply. And stick around for the last step, because that is the part that turns a nice retirement into money that outlives you. Let us start with the coin. $5 a day does not sound like wealth. It sounds like nothing. But watch what happens when you stop drinking it and start planting it. $5 a day is about $150 a month. That is around $1,800 a year, quietly set aside instead of sipped. On its own, that is not life-changing money. You are not going to feel rich. And this is exactly why almost nobody does it. It feels too small to matter. But small is the trick. Small is what makes it painless enough to actually keep going. Because the money is not the machine. The money is just the fuel. The machine is something Einstein supposedly called the eighth wonder of the world. It is called compound interest. And once you see how it works, you cannot unsee it. Here is the whole idea in one picture. You put your $5 a day into an investment that grows, say a simple fund, that owns a slice of the whole stock market. In year one, your money earns a little bit on top. A small gain. Now here is the magic. In year two, you do not just earn on the money you put in. You earn on your gains too. Your gains start making their own gains. Then those new gains make gains. And on and on. It starts as a snowball the size of your hand. But every year it rolls, it picks up more snow, and the more it picks up, the faster it grows. For a long time, it looks slow, almost boring. And then it stops being a snowball and becomes an avalanche. That slow, boring middle is where almost everyone quits. The people who win are simply the ones who do not. So let us put real numbers on it, and I'm going to be honest with you the whole way. Over the long run, the American stock market has returned about 10% a year on average. After you subtract inflation, the quiet tax that eats your money, the real growth is closer to 7% a year. So I am going to use that careful 7% number so we are not fooling ourselves. You save your $5 a day. Here is what the machine does. After 10 years, you have put in $18,000 and it has grown to around $26,000. Nice, but nothing crazy yet. This is the boring snowball stage. After 20 years, you have put in $36,000 and it is now about $78,000. Now watch the gap start to open. After 30 years, you put in $54,000. It is worth around $183,000. You did not triple your effort. You just waited. The machine did the rest. And after 40 years, you have personally put in just $72,000. Your account is worth nearly $400,000. Read that again. You added $72,000. The machine added over $300,000 on top, from $5 a day. Now here's where it gets a little unfair, in your favor. That 7% was the careful after-inflation number. If the market simply does what it has actually averaged over the last century, closer to 10%, the picture changes. At that rate, your $5 a day over 40 years does not become $400,000. It becomes about $950,000, a coffee a day, and you retire a near millionaire. And if you started young and gave it 50 years instead of 40, that same $5 a day grows to around $2.6 million. Same coin. Same coffee money. The only thing you added was time. This is the part that breaks people's brains. The amount barely matters. The time is everything. So that is how $5 a day makes you rich. But Evo Speedy did not ask how to get rich. The word was generational. And that is a different, bigger idea. So here is the last step, the one that changes everything. Getting rich is what happens when you let the machine run for your whole life. Generational wealth is what happens when you never turn the machine off. Watch this. Say you spend 40 years building that $400,000. Now, instead of spending it all, you leave it. You hand it to your kids with one rule. Do not touch the seed. Only ever live off what it grows. That $400,000, left alone for just 25 more years at that same 7%, with nobody adding a single dollar, becomes over $2 million. Nobody worked for that $2 million. Nobody saved for it. It grew silently, while an entire generation simply chose not to interrupt it. That is the real secret of old money. Rich families are not always smarter or harder working. Very often they are just the family that started the machine early and refused to switch it off. The poor spend the seed. The rich plant it and guard it. So how do you actually do this in real life without getting lost? 3 simple moves. First, make it automatic. Set up the $5 a day to move on its own so you never have to feel it leave. What you do not see, you do not miss. Second, keep it simple and cheap. Most people do this with a low-cost index fund, a single investment that quietly owns a tiny piece of hundreds of the biggest companies at once for almost no fee. No stock picking, no guessing. Third, and this is the hard one, do nothing. When the market drops, and it will, you do not touch it. The people who panic and sell are the ones who turn the avalanche back into a snowball. Now let me be straight with you, because this channel does not sell fairy tales. That 7 to 10% is a long-run average, not a promise. Some years the market falls hard. There will be stretches where your account drops and it feels awful. Compounding only works if you can survive those dips without bailing out. This is not me telling you what to do with your money. I am not your advisor. It is me showing you the machine so you can decide. But the machine is real. The math is not a trick. The reason almost nobody ends up with generational wealth is not that $5 a day is too little. It is that staying patient for 40 years is genuinely hard, and spending the coffee today is genuinely easy. The whole game comes down to one boring, powerful choice, made over and over. Plant the seed or drink it. So the next time you are about to spend $5 on something you will forget by tomorrow, just remember there is another version of that coin. One that could still be feeding your family long after you are gone. Thanks to Evo Speedy for the request. If you want to see what a specific amount would grow into, drop the number in the comments and I might build the next video around it. And if this helped you see the machine behind the money, subscribe, because that is what I do here, break down the money behind everyday life, drawn simply. I will see you in the next one.